Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Astara and I'm an angelic communicator and clairvoyant. And today I want to talk to you about this ancient spiritual significance of this time period called a year and a day. And it comes through from something that I experienced on a reading with one of my beautiful divine feminine clients. And she's given me permission, not to say who she is, but given me permission to talk about her story a bit because it's so relevant for what's going on at the moment. And it might be relevant for some of you. And if this helps you on your twin flame journey, then I'm more than happy to share it with you. And also, I notice that it can help with many other situations in life where you might be struggling or worried or concerned or not quite sure about what's going on. And so this is a pretty good one, I think, for most people. Now, you have to remember that I'm a priestess of Avalon, which means I work with the Lady of Avalon and the deep Celtic cycles that are in this land, in Albion, in England, the old British Isles, Bridget Anna. So this might link more to the Celtic rather than other parts of the world, but you might still feel this as a resonant in your being. The significance of a year and a day. This is a sacred time often given to hand fasting. Have you heard of hand fasting? So this is when in the Celtic would be like a Celtic marriage where they would have ribbons placed around them. And I've actually done hand fasting for other people. I've run beautiful ceremonies and marriages and been the priestess doing the hand fasting. It's been a pretty beautiful thing to do. But not many people do this anymore. I do have a friend that hand fasted for a year and a day, and then they got married recently, but they were together for like, I don't know, about 8, 9 years before they got officially married. But they hand fasted to see if they could have a year and a day together, like committed, connected, to see how that played out, to just put their energy into that and see how their energies melded and mingled with one another. So there is some sense to this. And if you find that you are in a sacred time sequence of a year and a day, then just notice the natural rhythms that come up, the deeper rhythms. Begin to notice what this can mean for you and your journey. So let's settle in, let's take a breath, maybe light a candle, and let's step into the timeless wisdom of cycles, natural cycles. So, the ancient rhythm of a year and a day is something in Celtic tradition that's considered to be the completion of a full cycle plus the moment of renewal, the extra breath that seals transformation. And if you imagine a year is when the earth is going all the way around the sun. Where I live, they have a beautiful birthday song that they sing to people. They don't sing the normal happy birthday, they sing about you going around the sun again. And this is true. Every time we go from our birth date, we go around the sun, we're having another experience, another spiritual, physical, emotional experience going around this solar being. And so if we imagine that the Celts really honoured this as well, a year and a day would allow an initiation. It could be the length of a marriage. It could be the length of meeting someone and having a child with someone. It could be the kind of time where a vow could be held and not hold someone forever, which I think some vows are not meant to do that. It can be a period of having rights for a particular piece of land or an oath or a spiritual commitment. I think the way the Celts saw this is they understood that we have to go through cycles. It isn't a full cycle until we complete something as returned to itself. And the final day is the rebirth, it's the reset, it's the integration. And so I'm going to bring in what happened with this client. So, this beautiful client, this beautiful divine feminine, she told me that a year ago she had a connection with her twin, and her twin gave her a message, a very, very clear message, the first clear message he'd ever given her. It was completely clear after lots of breadcrumbing, after playing around, after really not being clear with her. And she'd asked him for his words. She said, I want to hear your words. And on this particular day, she kind of pushed it. She got his words, and they were a very polite, very well, elegantly worded text, perhaps too elegantly for who he had been and what he'd been doing before. And it was very clear to her that he did not want anything with her. He just wanted to put a complete boundary with her in the physical realm. and that he did not want any contact with her unless it was just seeing her around and saying hi. And that's all he wanted. And because they live in the same community, she had to accept that. That was a difficult thing for her to accept, but she was very strong, beautiful, divine feminine, as you all are. And she just took that on the chin. She really worked with it. She found that there were other points in this year and a day because we worked out that it had been a year and 1 day exactly from that message. She'd gone through all the cycles of change. She was getting to the point where she was ready to let go and really at that point. And she had had other contact points with him where he tried to come back in. He tried to do a bit more breadcrumbing. He tried not to be clear. He'd done all sorts of odd behaviors and she hadn't responded. She had stayed with what he had asked, which was to see her around and say hi. And that's what she had respected because that is what he'd said. So the universe kind of saying at this point, and we were looking at this very deeply with her own guides that were coming in, and one of them was actually a British goddess, Bridie, the goddess of the fire, the goddess of purity, often the maiden goddess, the goddess of new beginnings. These messages were saying to her, well, you're not who you were a year and a day ago. And that fits perfectly with the Celtic folklore. It fits perfectly with it. You are no longer the person you were a year and a day ago because you've crossed the threshold. You've been through the cycles, you've changed, you've transformed, you've let go physically, like your body's renewed itself, your mind has renewed itself, your emotional thresholds have been moved through. And on a twin flame journey, she has gone through all those cycles where she didn't feel she could let go. And that was so painful to her to receive that text. I felt the pain when it happened, when the experience of it, it was so painful to her. But she'd done so well. And this is because also the body knows your cycles as well. This beautiful rhythm in the body that lives in cycles, that she'd gone through her circadian rhythms, she'd gone through lunar rhythms, she'd gone through in a year and a day, you go through maybe it's 13 and a half moons. I'll check that. I'll check that for you. 9.5 moons is a pregnancy. But if you imagine what change goes on in a pregnancy, it's the same thing. We're going through these different cycles. We go through the different astrology where the moons go through every single sign over and over again. And there's hormonal changes, emotional changes, and your cells renew, and your heart moves through. In a whole year and a day, you go through all the seasons, and that's also when the heart goes through the Leo season and the connection to the sun, and then down into the darkness again. If you listen to yourself and those rhythms in that quiet space, you can see that you are awakening different parts of yourself and letting go of other parts of yourself. So a year really tracks movement. It is a full revolution around the sun. The day is the return to self, the anchoring moment, the moment where the old cycle is released and a new cycle begins. We've got like the exhale and then the inhale as the new cycle begins. And what my client and the guidance we had received is that if she waited a year and a day, she would be shown, firstly, herself, how she'd changed, and if she still wanted this situation in a year and a day, then she could see how that person could have changed. So this doesn't even have to be a twin. This can be any situation in your life. I'm just checking my candle. Any situation in your life where if you wait a year and a day, you will really know. You will really know the truth. We just don't wait long enough, I don't think, to the answers to our questions. And the truth was her twin didn't come back. He didn't come back in a way that was allowable, sensible, appropriate, meeting her. She could tell he was changing, but he never came back with those words. He never came back to negate what he'd asked for. You could tell he wanted it to change because of the way he behaved in between. And we talked about that in quite a few of our sessions. But we could also see that he wasn't willing to offer her the words she needed and to say he was wrong, to say he'd been wrong. Not that we want people to be wrong. It was important in this situation. It had been such a hurtful thing that he'd asked for, and she'd done it. She'd really done it. So now, at this point in her cycle, she has her answer. She was given her answer because she was patient enough. She waited a year and a day. Nothing happened. He didn't do it. Nothing changed. But she changed very deeply. And astrologically, a year, it shows the solar return, the energetic reset, the beginning of a new chapter. And hers was actually maybe at this point in the year, just at the end of November, beginning of December, just in beginning into Sagittarius season. She'd had a true integration of a solar cycle, and it means that every day that she went on through this process, she was beginning to understand very deeply that this symbolic process was that this person probably wasn't going to come back. They probably weren't going to be able to meet her. And so we did a little blessing. We honored the fact that she'd learned a hard lesson, and now it's time for her to live. Now it's time for that lesson to live in her, which is that she received everything she needed to free herself now and move forward from her twin. And that the twin, unfortunately, when I looked at his energy, he was still waiting for her to take action because he hadn't worked out that to be honest, to be authentic, to be truthful with his feelings, to really be open and vulnerable, to stop playing games, to stop pretending that he didn't feel this way about her, wasn't gonna work. And he just couldn't get over his own ego. He just couldn't get over his own ego mountain, which is really sad. It's sad for him. But because this client is so aware, and I'm really proud of her, she understands the cycles. She understands also that twin flames don't move in linear time. But it was so exact what she was given to honor her cycle, to honor that she's expanded, to honor the separation if it needs to be that way, to honor her own awakening and whatever needs to dissolve, and her own rebirth. And so we did a special thing together where she will begin to, on this day, the extra day that is given, she is going to do a special ceremony saying goodbye to this cycle and allow herself to rise in her vibration individually. And that's what we're going to focus on now. We're going to focus on her soul work. We're going to allow things to shift. We're going to allow all the clarity that she's received in this year and a day and allow it to happen. The spiritual process she has been in has been allowing her to observe her cycles. And because she's been so on it, really, that year and a day was not wasted at all. It was really bringing her into her own power. So thank you so much for listening to me. And if you are in a process of even maybe making a decision about something, it could be your twin, it could be anything. If you wait a year and a day, you'll notice that you'll have that day of breakthrough, which will be that extra day, that moment when you realize you've crossed the threshold of something very old into something very new. These bigger cycles are at play. It's really important we listen to them. These seasonal cycles, lunar cycles, the solar cycles, and our soul cycles, where we complete karmic situations. We have integrations, we have destiny activations. And you can even play this out as well if you meet someone new and you want to see how you feel about them. What is wrong with dating someone for a year and a day? What is wrong with committing someone for a year and a day to see how you really feel about it, see if you really like it? Give yourself that full lesson, that integration, that time to recalibrate, that new timeline that's being birthed, that rebirth. Give it time to fully unfold. We are in a culture which is trying to make everything now. So I think doing this is not about waiting, it's about aligning with your own timing, your own cosmic timing, and giving yourself what you need in that time and giving your twin what they need. I mean, I think a year and a day is a reasonable amount of time for a person to know how they feel about someone else. Give yourself all the space you need to grow. Allow your soul the space to transform what it needs to. I think a year and a day helps us to open to truth. A year opens the path and a day seals the transformation. When that moment comes, you'll know because you'll just feel different. And because you are different, you'll feel that in your system. You'll feel that it's time for something new. If this message resonated, then leave a comment or share your experience. Maybe you've had some Celtic wisdom experiences or some cycles that you want to share with us. And as always, I'm always happy to work with you on soul sessions and come and join me. Go to my website, my Linktree, my Instagram, and just know that we're all working this together. We're all on this journey together, and every part of this journey is bespoke. So not everyone is the same. But if you resonated with this client, it was a really powerful transformation, and I'm really pleased because I'm very excited about what she's going to manifest into her future very quickly at this point.